Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Battle for Wesnoth Amateurs Cup, and we are now officially in the semi-finals. Only three, well, technically four matches, counting the bronze medal match, to go before the series is over. This tournament's been a lot of fun so far. And this is my match against Brongue. So, if we look at the full map here, we see we have myself as the Drakes, a faction I don't have a ton of experience with, against Brongue's Undead. Dark Sorcerer versus Drake Flare. Drake Sorcerer versus Dark Flare would, I think, be a very different kind of game. So, Drakes versus Undead. Both high damage, opposite alignments. Drakes have chaotic units, but they do piercing damage, so they're terrible at dealing with skeletons. Drakes have lots of fire damage, so they're very, very good at killing skeletons, but the Undead have lots of piercing and cold damage, so they're very, very good at killing Drakes. So let's see how this goes. Starting off, I start off with actually a fairly heavy, I only had 3 slots, but a relatively heavy Saurian recruitment. I got a Saurian Augur because I feel the need for heals, a Scout, a Drake Glider, and a Saurian Skirmisher. Meanwhile, on the other side, Brongue goes 2 Skeletons and a Ghost, and then we both move over to our other recruitment zones. I'm moving my units out to grab villages. Got a Drake Fighter, another Saurian, and what was my last unit there? And a Drake Clasher. I always feel good having a Drake Clasher or two around. Now, in this particular matchup, although I don't know this yet, Drake Clashers are not very good, because they do pierce and blade damage, both of which skeletons resist very, very well, and they are vulnerable to arcane and cold still, so Dark Adepts can blast them pretty effectively. Meanwhile, the Undead, spamming out skeletons and grabbing a couple of Dark Adepts early. Dark Adepts are just always a good recruit for the Undead. Undead armies really do revolve around a hardcore of Dark Adepts. But we can see each other now. I think, no, we can't quite see each other yet. I guess. Yeah, we can't quite, oh, nope, I can. We have identified the Undead, so now I know that it's the Undead that are coming up. We were having some issues, well, we were talking on Discord, and we were trying to make sure we could work that out. But as you can see here, we're just kind of lining up at the moment. We're establishing our holds. He's recruiting another Dark Adept, and I'm kind of stretching out to grab an extra village just for fun, just to see how long I can hold it. It is nighttime, so I don't really want to be doing a lot of fighting. Here, Brongue is kind of doing a similar thing that he does in most of his matchups. He's sending a fast unit, in this case a Ghost, forward to grab enemy villages and kind of distract them, take the pressure off the front lines, and force them to pay attention to his flankers. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't work as well with Undead as it does with, like, Loyalists, for example, which are a faction Brongue plays very, very well. Because Ghosts are more expensive than most scouting units, and they're weaker. They don't do as much damage, and they have very low HP, of course. Their resistances, incredibly good, but their HP incredibly low. So their effective hit points are actually, in most cases, equal to or less than other scouting units, even with these hugely high resistances, which to me never made a whole lot of sense. Like, if the point was to make Ghosts tanky against most types of damage, then they should actually be tanky against those kinds of damage. As it is, Ghosts have 50% defense in most places and 50% blade resist, so, against, like, blade or pierce attacks, they effectively have, 36, effectively have 72 effective hit points, because they're only going to get hit half the time, and when they do, they're going to take half damage. But, like, if you look at, say, an Elvish Scout or something, an Elvish Scout in the woods can easily have that many HP effectively against pierce attacks or blade attacks or more, because in the woods, of course, they have 60% defense. Anyway, it just always struck me as interesting that Ghosts aren't actually all that tanky. And of course, against Drakes, they're very much not tanky because fire damage. So he's doing the same thing, but it's less effective as the Undead because you have fewer units to do it with, and your units are more vulnerable. He is, however, moving in to attack my Drake Clasher. This is dangerous because that Drake Clasher can't do a bunch of damage to the skeletons, so the skeletons are just absolutely wailing on me. I'm sniping out another village just to keep village parity. And I've recruited a Drake Burner. I'm getting a second one. So I have a total of 3 Burners on the field right now. In fact, Burners are at the moment the majority of my forces. The reason for that is Burners are fantastic against every Undead unit that isn't called Dark Adept. And against Dark Adept, I should be able to get at them with Drake Fighters or Saurian Skirmishers. are very, very good at sniping Dark Adepts because they do lots of damage during nighttime when the Dark Adepts are pressing forward, and they have skirmishers so they can run around through the lines. The Drake Burners, of course, can take out skeletons with no retaliation, and since I've seen a bunch of skeletons, I've recruited a bunch of Drake Burners. They're more expensive, but they can just land their damage without being stopped or resisted in any way, and they can effectively burn down skeletons very, very quickly. So right now, I still have a slight village edge because I took this village down here. He's got a ghost over here, but I'm not too concerned about him. I do have a Drake Burner who can intercept if he goes for my other village, and I have this Saurian Skirmisher just kind of keeping an eye on things. He'll take this village back shortly, but overall, I think the situation up north is pretty much under control. Until, of course, my Saurian Skirmisher gets fucking nailed. That made me sad, but at least it does mean that I can take the village back. Meanwhile, the undead are advancing on the southern front, but it has become day. So I see this guy, and I'm like, oh, I can move my burners in to kill him, right? Right? Right, guys? You can kill him. With your burning. You could totally kill that skeleton. Yeah? I'm also moving this guy up to blast just because he can. Turns out, no, they can't kill him, but I could at least, get back there. Now, this, if we'll pause for a second, this I think was overly aggressive on Brongue's part. Moving these Dark Adepts forward, like, yeah, they can do damage. Yes, he has support units in front of them, but even so, this Saurian Skirmisher, given that with the Chill Wave does a lot of damage, and it does have 70% hit chance, but since it's daytime, they do have to hit him 3 times. I'm like, I feel like you could potentially lose a Dark Adept doing this. Which would be very sad. He's trying, I think, to sucker me out so he can kill it with the Dark Adepts and the Ghost. But, I don't know. Saurian Skirmishers aren't super expensive. Down here we have Dodgeville, USA, of course. However, things are only going to swing more in my favor as this fight goes on. I do have these units kind of behind my lines, which is worrisome, but the villages, honestly, are still fine. So I'm not too worried about it. This penetration of my lines is concerning, but it's not disastrous yet. And now that it's daytime, my Drake Burners are getting ready to do some actual damage. This guy's a little bit isolated, and so is this guy. So we're sending the Burners out to try and put the hurting on some skeletons. Finally managed to kill that one. These skeletons are the dodgiest motherfuckers, I swear. But during the daytime, we only have to hit him once or twice in order to make it worth it. And, of course, our Drake Gliders do have Marksman. So we're falling back. We're going to let him have that village if he wants it in order to kind of stymie this attack. Brongue is attacking very, very aggressively during the daytime. And what he's doing effectively is he's trying to trade units for villages, which I would say is usually a bad call. Generally speaking, that pissed me off no end. Generally speaking, units are actually more valuable than villages, just on account of the fact that units cost several village turns worth of income. So I've cleared off 2 skeletons there, and I'm about to kill this ghost as well. I've reclaimed one of my villages. I still lost one, but in the process... Why didn't it reset that? Alright, hold on. Okay, so here we are back here. As I was saying, in the process of these aggressive daytime attacks, Brongue's lost 4 units and he's only killed 1. He killed 1 Saurian Skirmisher, he lost a ghost and 3 skeletons. In terms of luck, I've actually been slightly unlucky so far. I've taken a little bit more damage than kind of expected, but I've successfully destroyed this offensive. A big reason I did that, there are 2 basically. First, his units were relatively unsupported, and against the Drakes that's a death sentence because the Drakes can concentrate forces so rapidly with their high mobility flying units. And secondly, of course, the time of day is against him. So he's successfully secured a village or 2, I mean, right now I'm on the downside of a village mismatch. But, I say as I stammer helplessly, but that's about to be fixed, because I'm going to take that village back, I'm going to take that village back, and he's got 2 Dark Adepts out here that are hugely vulnerable with no cover. So these units can swing up here and easily take out these Dark Adepts before anybody can come to save them. And that's what I'm doing. I'm shifting my units north, knowing that he has to deploy to defend these guys because they're valuable and hard to defend. His skeleton is running north. I'm going to move up there and just start taking pot shots. Just chip damage, wearing him down, not letting him recover with the fire breath. And he will die soon enough. I'm holding my recruitment for this turn. And I've got my units moving up here just to kind of hold on this side. I don't need to hold very hard because I don't anticipate a huge attack force. But as you can see, his units are moving north in an effort to save his Dark Adepts, but he's decided that they're not savable, and so he's coming over here to have terrible luck trying to hit my Saurian Ambusher. My Saurian Skirmisher. 1 hit out of 4 shots with magic is terrible, terrible luck. But we've now nearly gotten our village situation back together. We've killed one of the Dark Adepts, and we've done some damage to another. Couldn't quite get him dead, unfortunately. But given the lopsided kill counts, I'm distinctly winning this game at the moment. And he's sending his units in here, and yeah, he's doing damage, and he did manage to kill another skirmisher, but he's also putting himself in the position of taking a lot of damage. And he doesn't have a way to stop that, really. Like, he's trying to kind of stem the bleeding with these units up front, but those units aren't really capable of stemming the bleeding by themselves. Now, we're entering a point, however, where we're doing some intricate maneuvering, because right now his damage is super high. I have attacks that I can launch with no retaliation, but his damage when he attacks is incredible. If we look at this Chill Wave does 19 damage versus Drake units per shot, and 15 versus Saurian units. Dark Adepts with cold damage are incredibly powerful against Drakes. He could actually outright kill Morash in 1 round of fire. He can't quite kill Venetratrix here, the greatest T-Rex. But with the Skeleton and the Dark Adept working together, he probably could. He can pretty much pick a unit that both of these guys can reach and murder it. He can't, however, kill Vashik Ko. Vashik Ko is protected by Doritos here, or Groritos, the Drake equivalent. So he probably can't kill this guy, but he could pick pretty much, as I said, any other unit in this line and kill it stone dead, which is what I'm a little bit worried about. However, I'm looking at this situation and I'm like, okay, I'm willing to trade one of these guys for both of these guys, which I can probably do. Since I have this other Drake burner who can come up to help, and I've got 4 units here, I can lose Doritos here and still wipe out both of these dudes with very, very little damage. And of course, in the next turn, I have more reinforcements available than he does. Like, he has mostly skeleton archers, a single bat, and if he wants to, he can throw his Dark Sorcerer in. But that's about it. And then down here, we've got 2 units facing off against 2 units. My units have the terrain advantage and the defensive advantage. He doesn't have a good way to attack me. So I'm actually going to retreat Vashik Ko just in case something terrible happens. Get him a little bit of healing. If this skeleton archer wanted to come and attack, he could, so I just body blocked him with Gelslar. And overall, I'm in this position, I'm actually on the offensive during the night against the undead, and now comes the dawn. Went in for a cheeky assassination on this Dark Adept. Unfortunately, my Saurians forgot how to aim their spears, which was a problem. But I now have the village advantage. All that prep work that he did earlier to put me on the back foot has backfired, and I'm now moving in to whittle down his skeleton posse. Unfortunately, like I said, that Dark Adept, we forgot how to stab people sometime between last turn and this turn, so, well, there we go. The undead get a measure of revenge this turn, but it's not going to be enough to stop things. They're recruiting a couple more skeletons, but once again, if we look at the stats, I've still been... this is actually the undead. Brongue here has swapped around. He's been slightly unlucky by now, but not by much. But he's lost double what I have. So he really is in a world of hurt. Having lost 8 units, the forces up here have rough parity, but I still have the mobility advantage, and I've got more units coming in. So we're going to clear out the blocker and let the rest of my forces move in to finish the job. Yep, there we go. And we're just going to stab this skeleton for his presumption. Meanwhile, my leader is going to move back. I'm thinking just in case I need to recruit more units to finish this, I do have 47 gold in the bank. So I don't want to be caught off guard, basically. Because right now it's looking like I might get ground down here, especially as it comes towards nightfall. So just in case, I want to have my line of reinforcements ready to go. I do also have Vlareth here, nearly leveled up, so that's exciting. And, of course, I have Vashit Ko, also nearly leveled up. So we're trying to get the kill, but we get the kill with Grash instead. So now I have 3 Drakes very, very nearly leveled up. Getting the damage in. Unfortunately, we steal the kill there. I'm absolutely kill-stealing all of my own about-to-level units, which sort of frustrates me, but, you know, that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. We're scoring a ton of kills, which is important. Didn't manage to get any levels, however. And here they're gonna manage to snipe out one of my nearly leveled units. But at this point, it really just doesn't matter, because I killed so many undead during that turn. Fighting the Drakes during the daytime is so damaging that their entire army can't fight my force up here. And they can't really stop me from leveling somebody without getting hella lucky. So there we go. That's level number 1. We've got a Drake Warrior. And now we're just going for the kill, because he's got... Brongue is right up here. We're going to surround him with Drakes and barbecue him. Or, well, we're going to try. Didn't quite manage to get it there, but there's the kill. So that is game 1. A very good game. Not super long. 16 turns. That real aggressive attack early on backfired on Brongue, and it was because in this particular matchup, the undead have a massive mobility deficiency. Undead mobile units are overall pretty weak, whereas the Drakes, of course, have massive mobility, and their fast scouter unit, the Drake Glider, is actually fairly strong, because it has marksman on its fire breath, and then it has a decent, not super powerful, but decent melee attack. It's certainly a better melee attack than bats have. And it works on skeletons. Having an impact melee attack makes these guys actually viable at kicking to death skeleton archers during the daytime, which otherwise you sometimes struggle with. But yeah, the main thing was that attack on the north, it was pretty good, and it got in here, but it got repulsed. It was cut off by the mobile forces flooding up from the south, and then just sort of ripped apart as he tried to retreat. There wasn't a way, and in general, there isn't a way to run away from Drakes. If an attack fails, you just have to cut your losses and let those units die in place, because the Drakes will be able to chase you down. Kills and losses, more than 2 to 1. Overall luck, I ended up very slightly lucky by the end. Not by a huge amount, but about 20 damage inflicted more and about 20 damage less taken. So overall about a 40 damage swing, which is like 1 unit or so. Obviously it depends on where that unit gets placed. But yeah, mostly I just lost Saurian skirmishers, which were mainly there to present the threat of a snipe and then to die, because they're cheap and they have high defense. Whereas the skeleton hordes were obliterated, and several of the Dark Adepts were killed as well. Bronze's recruitment pattern shifted kind of halfway through the game to retaliate against my Drake Burner spam. I think he did that pretty well with the skeleton archers. But Drakes just have such a massive damage dealing advantage during the daytime that this is one of those matchups where the undead and the Drakes very much have to retreat during the appropriate time of day, unless they have a massive localized advantage, which I did during that last night. So, I didn't get game 2 of this match recorded. There were 3 games. This was game 1, which I won. Game 2, I lost, and I just kind of lost in a grinding, very straightforward way. It was a relatively long game. I just got pushed back, outmaneuvered, and eventually surrendered. I was playing... trying to remember who we were playing, and I can't. But we did have game 3. So, game 3 versus Brongue. Going into it, we are 1-1, neck and neck. And I draw the Loyalists, so I'm actually feeling pretty good about this one, because I like I'm sorry, I draw the Northerners, because I like the Northerners. I really enjoy playing the Northerners. Brongue, meanwhile, is playing the Loyalists, which I think, from having watched him through this tournament, I feel comfortable in saying that the Loyalists are Brongue's strongest faction. So, if we look at what we got a Wolf Rider, 2 Wolf Riders, and an Assassin for my early recruit. He's got 2 Cavalry, a Spearman, and another Cavalryman, so 3 Cavalry total. Cavalrymen are, I would say, one of the strongest Scout-type units, just because they've got decent hit points, and then they have good resistances. Impact, Blade, Arcane, and Cold. They are a little bit vulnerable to Pierce, but they can avoid Pierce most of the time. Their attack is comparable to a Wolf Rider's, but very slightly better, if I recall correctly. I think Wolf Riders are 5-3 base. And of course, Wolf Riders don't have armor. So, Cavalrymen cost the same as Wolf Riders, but are an objectively superior unit in most situations. The only thing Wolf Riders have over them is higher defense in hills and villages, and the ability to walk on mountains, which Cavalrymen cannot do. So it's a weaker unit, but a more mobile one. Also, of course, Loyalists have the Spearman, and the Spearman is just one of the best basic level 1 infantry units. So we have identified the enemy, or the enemy has identified us. Now we've identified him. We've got some grunts, an archer, an assassin coming forward. However, what I'm doing right here, this is the first part of a mistake. I'm looking at the time of day, and here I make my blunder, and I capitalize that. This is the blunder, the thing that loses me the game, and it'll happen in just a turn or two. And I bet you can tell me what it is. So it's evening time. I move my guy up in a real aggressive fashion, and I go in for an attack. This was a dumb thing to do. And what's even dumber, I double down on it. So, here's the problem. I've got 8 units total. 4 of them are right here. That's half of my force, out in the open, not on defensive terrain, surrounded by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Loyalist units. The Cavalrymen, as I said, have resistance to blade attacks, so they don't take a ton of damage from those. My attack on this Spearman has done very little net damage because he's on a village. This attack was a terrible plan. Moving my Slayer over here was also a bad plan because he can only recruit 1 unit at a time, which isn't normally much of a limitation, but the Northerners have cheap enough units that sometimes they can recruit 2 or 3 units at a time. And over here, he's actually close enough to the front lines that he's threatenable. It's potentially possible that these cavalrymen could break through Pink the Orcish Grunt and curl around and lock my Slayer in place. So this whole thing was me getting way, way over-aggressive. I didn't need to do this, and I shouldn't have done this. And this is why. Because the Spearmen are coming in, it's not nighttime, it's only evening. So their damage output is still higher than my Orcish Grunt's damage output. And they are just swarming in, killing off my units for pretty much no loss. So I've lost 2 units instantaneously. I'm way on the back foot. One of my Orcish Grunts is just fucking way back there for no real reason. And my Assassin is not gonna get out of here alive. There's no way. I was proud of him that he lived this long. So I'm now on the back foot. I'm trying to recover, but my knight has been wasted because I launched that over-eager attack. Premature attackulation is just a serious problem that many men have to deal with. And now Brongue is doing the thing that he does best, which is he's getting his cavalry, his fast units, in past my defenses because I didn't have any. I wasted all my defenses trying to kill this guy who didn't die. And so his cavalry are now running into my backline to prove to be huge nuisances with their damage resistance and probably their ability to get on a village and heal. I'm now, as the Northerners, I'm now, if I recall correctly, outnumbered. Which is never a good situation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, not counting the leader. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, not counting the leader, and I think there might be another one back here. So as the Northerners, if you're ever outnumbered by Loyalists, you're about to have a bad day. And as it gets to be dawn, the Loyalists are pushing. Textbook, very simple. He's pushing out here to divide my forces. I can't afford to ignore this cavalry, but I also can't afford to not defend against this push. So I'm, in a way, I just kind of have to let it go, but of course I can't. Now, Orcish Grunts are really, really good at holding villages. As you can see, he got 4 units focused on him. He is still holding the line like a champion. High HP, decent retaliatory attacks. Very unlucky assassin over there, by the by. But there's no way I can hold it. So I'm sending my own Wolf Rider into the back in an effort to kind of distract the enemy, as it were. But I can't... I have the forces right here to stop this attack, potentially, but with losses. And doing that does not give me the spare resources to do anything else. So he's got cavalry over here in my back line. He's got a horseman charging up. He's got more units over here. I really need to concentrate to take out these 4 guys, and I can't. I don't have that option. And I still have this asshole in my back line. So at this point, I have already lost the game. My villages are being taken without a good way for me to get them back. I am killing enemy units and bringing the game back closer to even in that way, but killing enemy units only really goes so far. You know, it doesn't matter if I'm killing them if they're killing me almost as fast and also reducing my income. Now, I'm reducing his income back here, which is great, but the problem is I need to get him much more on the back foot than he is, and he's now moved over here to kill my Wolf Rider. So right now, not the unit list, let's look at stats. Right now, you can see Brongue has actually gotten significantly unlucky. He's inflicted a lot less damage than could be expected. He's taken slightly more. And yet, he's lost 2 units and he's killed 5. This is the impact of one bad miscalculation. Because I lost 4 of those units just in that attack that I absolutely shouldn't have lost. Meanwhile, down here, I do have Brongue, and this is the interesting thing here. Brongue is now down to 16 HP. Worth thinking about. However, he's taking good terrain, he's putting me on the back foot. I don't have enough units to cover what needs to be covered. And here I did a bold but ultimately dumb thing, because, you see, there was a 20-something% chance that I could just straight up kill Brongue with my Wolf Rider and win the game. And unfortunately, I completely failed. I didn't hit him once, he hit me twice, and I died. Which made me incredibly sad. But it was worth trying. I'm not sorry that I tried. I'm only sorry that I failed. But as we can see here, I'm significantly down. I am killing some more enemy units, which is good, but I'm also still losing units, and like this guy, I just don't have the forces to spare to kill that guy. I still have to deal with this mess. At this point, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can stabilize. And if I can stabilize, then I might be able to pull something off. It is 8-6 in terms of villages, which is a bad place to be, especially as it comes on daytime. But I'm just trying to clear these guys out of my backfield. Desperately trying. I shouldn't have, to be honest. I shouldn't have tried that, but I did get a crossbow level. At this point, I'm looking at this situation and I'm like, okay, maybe this is salvageable. Maybe I can do something about this. I'm getting some units back. If we look at the statistics, it's evening out. I've lost more than I've killed, but my luck has turned around a little bit, and I'm starting to stabilize the situation. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can do this. But we've got a whole nother wave of loyalist units coming from the south. And once again, I don't have enough units to put up a defense that will stop that cavalry from going around me. And my leader is back here kind of isolated and injured, which is a recipe for disaster when there's all this cavalry around. On top of that, of course, it's daytime, and I'm trying to fight loyalist units on good defensive terrain. Oof, that one hurt. That hurt so bad. During the daytime, realistically, I, as the Northerners, just should not be fighting loyalist units. I shouldn't have launched this attack. These 3 units over here, I probably should have just ignored them. I probably should have pulled back, taken defensive terrain, tried to force him to come to me. But at this point, I was in a situation where I couldn't really play the waiting game, or at least I didn't feel like I could, because Brongue, of course, has more villages than I do, thus more income, and it was probably a mistake to launch that attack, but I didn't feel like I could really do anything else. Meanwhile, this cavalry in the back line is just fucking me up. I don't have a way to stop it. And unfortunately, he gets the hit on the assassin. That made me mad. I was upset when that happened. So at this point, we're closing in for the desperate final defense. I don't have the resources to continue to fight. My only hope really would be to somehow get these units through and kill Brongue's swordsman. But the odds of that happening are slim to none and getting lower all the time. On account of these guys just absolutely holding me off, come hell or high water. The epic stand of the bowman over here is amazing and terrible. And at that point, I called it. Once this guy leveled to a longbowman, I was just like, okay, I can see more units coming than I have units in total. I have not been able to kill this cavalryman. In fact, he killed one of the units I sent after him. My leader is badly damaged and right next door to a longbowman who's about to open fire. My only level 2 is very badly injured, and I don't think I can win this one. So I just called it at that point, and with that, I lose. I am out of the tournament. Brongue is advancing to the finals. He'll be one of our finalists, and in the next video, we will discover who his opponent will be. Now, I am now into the bronze medal match, the 3rd place match, where I will play the loser of the other semifinal game, and we'll see who gets to take home the consolation prize. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.